So next we're going to go beyond Hello World. So this is, what we just did now. For now, you can find a bazillion like little YouTube clips that'll get you that far, right? But now we're going to get our money's worth. We're going to go into click the button, right? So what we're ultimately going to build, I haven't revealed the requirements yet, and I noticed nobody asked. The ultimate thing we're going to build here is an app that will show you the current temperature, right? And it's going to find the current temperature by going out to a web service, getting a JSON file, parsing the JSON file, coming back, and then displaying it on the screen, all right? So we're just going to make some simplifying assumptions here. The assumption is that people don't want to check the current temperature all the time, that they want to press the refresh button before they see the current temperature, right? They want to have control over how their app is, accessing the internet or some BS that I could think of right now to make it not complicated. So let's add that button. And we'll go over here. Where do we need to be to add a button? Any guesses? Any guesses? Yeah, there's a T-shirt in it. All right, it's the layout. Yeah, did someone say layout? Who said layout? Layout. Woohoo! Gotta go into layout editor. Right there's let me zoom in on that a little bit. All right, so right now you see the Hello World, and this little palette of widgets here, right? So we're going to do it the easy way. I'm just going to drag a button onto here and kind of slowly place it on, and you can see those arrows coming up pointing to the placement of how it's going to find its location on the screen. So you can see, move it slowly while you're holding down the button and still dragging. You can see those arrows kind of point to this left dotted thing that's the margin, right, all the way around the sides and the top, and then the arrow pointing up to the thing above it, which is the label that says Hello World. So I'm going to place it just about here, so it looks like it's pretty easy to hit, right? I'll let it go, and now it's found a spot on the layout. Hello World's still there, so I'm going to change that. I'm going to go back to the Hello World. That's going to be where we ultimately display our temperature. So I'm going to call that temperature. And I'm going to change it, the default text from Hello World to, okay, there we go, to just dash dash. All right? Because before you get the temperature, you don't know what it is. You don't want to guess. Just put something there. It could be stars or whatever you want to put there. Right? And I'll hit enter, and it's going to change on the screen here. So now you can, if you want, before we do that, well, let's go and let's finish up with the button first. I'm jumping around a little bit there. Sorry about that. So the button ID, you could just call it button, right? But what if you wanted more buttons? So let's just call it refresh. Right? That's going to be the refresh button, and we want the text, instead of saying button, to just say refresh. Right, good. All right, so now we go over to, if we look at, we can see the XML here, right? And this shows you the XML layout, right? You could modify this directly. You don't have to use the design tool here, but this is certainly a lot easier. In the past, what I would have done, what I always advised the class to do was to do the basic layout, throw the buttons on the screen, throw the text on the screen, set up all the IDs in the WYSIWYG editor. But then when you really got into fine-grained placement, you had to go into the text editor. I think you probably can stay away from the text editor probably 80% of the time now. It used to be like you had to do it, but you had to use it 90% of the time. Now I think it's still about 20% of the time you're going to have to get in there and just tweak a number or something just to get something lined up exactly the way you want. but it's not. It's getting much easier. And again, since we're trying to do this, just in one night, I'm not going to show you all the details of what everything means in the layout. But just know that things are laid out relative to each other in the relative layout. There's different layouts, but we're using the relative layout, and basically the idea there is that things lay out relative to each other. So if you turn the phone in a direction, it's going to lay out stuff correctly. It's not absolute pixels location. Okay? All right. So now we've got a button, and we want to do something with it, right? I'm going to go over here, and now we start getting into the Java coding, right? So this is the meat of the idea here, right? I showed you briefly that the temperature activity.java file was created as part of that template, and as part of that template, it created overrode the onCreate call, right? And all it did there for you to begin with was pull the layout in and just display it on the screen. Okay, now we've got a layout. We want to start hooking elements up to that to our code, right? Let's say we want to get the text, right, to put the temperature on there, right? So we're going to call this we're going to say temperature equals find view by ID. Okay, there's a lot of details there that I haven't clued you into yet, but I'm going to just show you the code first, and then get into what it's doing. So r.id temperature. Okay, so this is hooking up the temperature view to it's hooking up the temperature view to the variable. All right, so this is going to be a label. Sorry, it's text view. I work in about 3 or 4 different UI frameworks, and every once in a while I get them confused. It's text view in Android. Sorry about that. And then here we want to say that this text view is a field of the class or the object, right? So now we've pulled out of that layout the little thing that says that we want to put the temperature on. Very straightforward. Okay, so next thing we want to do is get the button, right? So we'll call that refresh button.
You have to specifically cast it also?
Yes, you do. This find view by ID is it just finds any view. But anything that lands, good question, because anything that lands on the layout is a view. Okay, they all can have IDs, right? So that's all you got to do is cast it to whatever the real type is. That the really cool thing is, I'll show you this in a second. Let's say go ahead. Can't read the red? Yeah, sorry. Let me dim the lights here for one, and then it will change. Red's bad. Is that a little better? Red means that it's broken. It's not. I haven't defined it yet. So I'm going to say, oh darn it, function. There we go. All right. So I'm going to say this is a button. So a button is also a view. Oh, and it's red because it needs to be imported. So I'm going to, yep.
You can also invert the colors.
Yeah. All right. So find view by ID r.id refresh. All right, and then we'll import. We'll create a field called refresh button, and it will not be red anymore. All right. There we go. Now it's purple. Is that better? A little bit. All right. Zoom in a little more.
So if you get the library for text view on button, those are showing up as not found for you.
They are showing up as not found for you. Interesting. Okay, so if I go into my import,
Oh, I'll do
Yeah, Alt Enter will. Yep.
There it is. That's what I needed.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Alt Enter. So if you click on something, if you do Alt Enter on something that's got the cursor over it, it'll give you some hints as to what to to define it or import it or whatever you need or create it. So now we've got our button and a temperature. We haven't done anything with them yet. So how many people here are Java developers? All right. How many people here have written an interanonymous class? All right, good. All right. So this is something that happens a lot in Android. You have a lot of interanonymous classes because it's very convenient with scoping. So refresh button dot set on click listener. So now I'm going to say I'm going to create a new interanonymous class. I always forget, is it interanonymous class or object? I think it's class. New, and then I'm going to hit Control Space, and it's going to offer to template out the construction of the on-click event. All right, and then in the on-click event, I'm going to just for now, so we know what's happening, I'm going to say temperature dot set text cold. All right. So that should be pretty accurate for where we're headed in Maryland now. So that's all we got to do. That's all we got to do to line it up. I'm going to go ahead and launch it. It's launching. There it is. I hit refresh. Where am I? Refresh. Cold. Right? So that is, let me go back through that. Okay, I told you high level, then we go back through. We put the, get in there. All right, so we drag the button on there. We set the ID and the text for the label. Sorry, for the text view, and for the button ID and text. All right, and then we went into the activity, and in the overridden onCreate method, after we set the content view, we created a field variable for the temperature and the refresh button, and assign them to the view that was in the layout. Okay, and then in the refresh button, we added an interanonymous class for the on-click listener. Okay, good. Any questions there?
What did you click in the process of that thing to get it to produce that?
Yes, it's a huge time saver. It is awesome, right? So you just type new, because you know you're going to put a new thing there, and then Control Space, and it's going to pop up an option list of what it thinks you might want to do. And the first one there is the best shot. Say I want to create a new interanonymous on-click listener, hit enter, and it puts the thing there for you, right? All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, Jeff, so how do you share objects between activities?
You don't.
You
You can. You just, it's not a good idea. So an activity, pretty much an activity life cycle is very short. Let me show you this.
can't. So can you pass parameters into an activity?
You can, and you'll see what we do later is we actually send a broadcast message to an activity. So anybody who's listening for that message would get it and update the display. That's the best way to do it, right? So anyway, so let me show you. This says cold now because I hit the button, right? No matter how many times I hit the button, it's not going to say anything else. But watch this. I'm going to change the orientation. Look at that. It went away. Anyone guess why? Why did my cold go away when I change the orientation of the device.
To refresh the whole thing?
It's a whole new activity. So every time the profile changes, okay, that could be going into split screen mode, that could be changing orientation, that activity starts fresh. So everything that's in there gets lost. So that isn't, you do not want to put state, app-wide state in the activity, because you need that to be just basically something that's going to pull a controller that reads data out of the model and puts it into the view. Okay, yeah.
So the problem with this was that you left the activity in the state tagging in the actual beginning of the program instead of having it. Like, how do you prevent it from?
How do you? We'll get there. We'll get there. So I'll let you guys code that up. Then we'll go on to the next section. Any other questions? All right.
Oh, yeah. How did you rebuild it? That's what you said.
Oh, you just hit the play button again.